and welcome to another An Issue of Faith. I'm Reverend Ken Badger, and I'd like to once again welcome Pastor Darrell Brown. He is the pastor of the Emmanuel Missionary Baptist Church. It is my pleasure and my honor to have you, sir. I've been trying to get you here for a long time. We've been discussing doing this for quite some time. So I would like to thank you for once again gracing us with your presence.
Thank you,
Pastor
thank
Brown.
you. Greatly appreciate this opportunity.
How are you?
Doing well today.
Good, good. I visited Emmanuel, and I must say that Emmanuel has a different atmosphere now with you there as pastor, and I can say that from my own experiences as growing up in Emmanuel. Emmanuel has been challenging for a few pastors over the last few years because of I know for personal experience they're so deeply stuck in tradition. So with you coming in, I mean, it's been a breath of fresh air to see the atmosphere and the way things that you're moving within the community and within Emmanuel itself. But it takes a man of strong faith to deal with Emmanuel. Believe me, to deal with Emmanuel, you're talking about people who grew up in Mixon Town and right there in Grand Park. So I want to get a bit into your background. What brought you to Emmanuel? What was bringing you or drew you to be the next pastor of the Emmanuel Missionary Baptist Church?
So to consolidate the story of a lifetime,
Okay.
I'll just say I'm from Polk County, Florida.
Okay, good old Polk
Was
County.
raised down there, married down there, had children down there, and was living life as what I thought would be our future. Was pastoring the church and working in a career, and we thought we'd right out into the sunset right there from Polk County.
Okay.
But about midway through the pandemic, 2021, doors started to close professionally and even in terms of ministry.
Yes.
What I thought I would go and pastor my home church, where I was formerly the youth pastor, all those things. But God allowed that season to dry up. And my wife and I both found career opportunities here in Jacksonville.
Okay.
And we relocated without the intention of landing at Emmanuel. I didn't know of the church.
Okay.
I just knew that God opened doors for us in terms of provision here. So we came here, and about I guess a little over a year into being here, I got a call about being asked just to preach on a Sunday to fill in.
Right.
That led to a request for me to seriously consider the pastoral opportunity.
Okay.
And it was just something that I really didn't anticipate at the time that it came, but so glad that God led me down that path.
Okay.
And full transparency, I'll say it was even something that I attempted to walk away from.
Wow.
Just apprehensive of the assignment and all that would come with it. But when God has something for you, it's hard to run away from
It
what
is.
He has in
Right.
store for
You are not going to get away.
Yes,
You'll
sir.
be like Jonah.
That's it. That's it.
But I tell you.
So February 2023 marked the start date. So we're about 2 years or so in.
Okay,
So
congratulations.
grateful for the journey.
Yes, yes, man. And as I said, those last couple of years have been pretty fruitful. You've made an impact
Grateful.
within the community. I see a lot of things that are changing and some things that are evolving within Emmanuel itself. But I know as a younger pastor, it comes with certain challenges. We were talking and we were trying to say how people don't understand that a life of a pastor, how difficult it can be. So I want to touch on how do you find it with your faith as a pastor and a community leader? How does your faith bleed all into all of that?
Absolutely.
Into one?
Absolutely. I think it's a journey that has to start with having a personal faith walk. What I mean by that is we can profess publicly to want to lead people into this life of faith or lead a community into all of these various things. But if you have no personal compass, right, that, and if you've not endured some challenges along the way, you know, how can I lead this church through a challenging season, or how can I lead a community that is full of challenges? So I think what God does is really allows Romans 8:28 to play out. He works all things together for the good.
That's right.
So when I look at my personal life and you know, from issues in my health, things that I've overcome professionally, things that I've overcome, you know, relationally, emotionally, mentally, all of those things come together to inform this journey of faith. And then you take that journey into this journey with others as a congregation.
Okay.
We're just a bunch of people who are on a journey, and our journeys have now converged.
Okay.
And so that's where, for me, that is what it is to come into a historic context of a church body that has been on a journey for 133 years.
Right, right.
And here I am on my personal life journey going on 40 years.
Okay.
And we're just converging in this season. We're converging in this season. And so that's been really the way that God has opened this door just for that mutual influence. And I say mutual because in as much as I am leading the church or in a leadership capacity,
Right.
I am being influenced and informed and blessed by the journeys of others as well. And so I think that also bleeds toward the community.
Right.
Here we are in a city of, again, so many journeys that come together.
Right.
We can talk about the let's say ancient history of this city going back to 1600s and beyond.
Yes.
The different colonies that have been
Yes.
set up, even to the more tangible history in terms of antebellum, before the Civil War,
Right, right.
the plantations, and
Yes.
to this day, those parts of the communities whose names still bear the name of old plantations that have now
Exactly.
become historic
Yes.
African American neighborhoods that have now become these thriving areas. And so it's a journey, and we're here now to write our chapter in that overall story, and that's what's exciting to me. So we get to do that on a daily basis.
Man, and it's good that you can absorb all of that, coming into the community and see all those things. And I think that's exactly why you're the perfect person to be in Emmanuel, to understand the dynamics that are surrounding you.
Sure.
Because you are surrounded. You have the college at one end, you have the Grand Park neighborhood on both sides,
Right.
and then you have two main veins that will go directly in and out of the city. But I tell you, the thing is, growing up in a household and then around a lot of other pastors, people always say a good pastor always has a pastor.
That's right.
Because people seem to forget when they're looking at the man of God, they forget the man part.
That's right.
And they see their pastor in a pastoral capacity, but then when they see him on the street as a man, a lot of times they're disappointed. Now, what I love is that the fact that you have taken the time and the opportunity and the effort to actually get into the community and to meet the people themselves, and because now that when they see you, they say, hey, that's Pastor Brown from that big church over there on the corner, right? And they see you more as a man first, and then as that leader in that community. And I love the way that you have approached that and done that. And I met a gentleman outside of the church when I was visiting, and I'll never forget him. And he had been talking about, he ran into you while he was picking up beer cans from where he was sleeping outside of the fellowship hall. And he said, and he's talked about the other guy that was over there with him, saying how disrespectful, he won't even pick up his cans. But he said, I met that Pastor Darrell, and I make sure I pick my cans up. and it was the oddest thing. We talked and we had conversation. He knew you as a man, as the leader of this church. And I encouraged him. I said, man, and he said, my name's Samuel, just out of the Bible. And I encouraged him. I said, man, you want to see him again? I just talked to him. He's like, yeah. I said, he's going to be preaching in there in a few. You need to come in. And he said, yeah, okay, I'll think about it. Before you were done with your sermon, and I looked up, there he was sitting in the back in the corner.
Love it.
And I love that. People don't understand that as a leader, especially as a pastor within the community, you've been given the great commission, and it says, go ye therefore.
That's right.
And you can't go behind the closed doors. And
That's
I love
right.
that you go out into the community and meet people. And everybody can identify you, right? They can. They say, that's that preacher be running around the neighborhood right there.
Right. That's right.
So with that being said, I mean, and with Emmanuel, it's like you said, it's been around a long time. So they've been steeped in tradition. I'm here to tell you, I've lived through that traditional period of Emmanuel, and some of it has not changed since 1968.
Sure.
And tell me, how do you go about redefining those traditions in a church so embedded in tradition?
So I think one of the gifts of grace upon my life is being raised in a traditional context myself. So I'm a millennial by generation.
Okay.
By age, coming on the age of 40
Right.
next summer. And so I exist as a bridge between these different generations. I was born before the internet was a thing, at least before it was a widely used thing,
Right.
so to speak. and born before everyone had a cell phone in their hands, before streaming and all. And I remember those days of not being plugged in, so to speak, as a society. And now I exist in a time where there's hardly a day where we're not using some type of AI or not engaged digitally. So I think my assignment is to be a bridge between those various generations and really point both ways and say, let's not demonize one or the other, but let's take from both what will make us more beneficial as a society. And so coming into a context like Emmanuel, it is steeped in tradition, but it's, in some ways, there are aspects of those traditions that has helped the church survive so long. So what I would love to do is take the good parts of that. What could we learn from that? What are some best practices? Conserve those things, but also not be fearful of technology and what's coming in, 2025 and beyond. And so Jesus said, Matthew 5, I've not come to destroy the law, I've come to fulfill it. I'm not Jesus, but I am trying to pattern after him. And he's saying, I'm not saying throw away the 10 commandments. I'm not saying throw away what you saw in the Old Testament. I'm saying here is the fulfillment of what it looks like today. And that's what I really believe we ought to be as a church family.
I hear you, Pastor, man. That's great, because I believe that is something that is truly missed right now. It's for somebody to actually come in and to recognize, okay, well, I don't know all of that, and I don't know all of that, but I'm gonna stand here in the middle, and like you said, but not point fingers at each other, but to point and say, hey, look, this is where we are. Let's come together to make this continue to grow. That's some strong vision right there, and I must say that. That's something that you don't see a lot of people, or I should say pastors, actually outwardly portraying. They're not as transparent with the community and with their congregation, especially when it comes to their vision, when it is not lining up with the church vision. But tell me, how did you get the congregation to see that your vision was sent divinely to help Emmanuel grow into a community serving church again?
Love the question. So one of the funniest things that we encounter as pastors is when you're first coming in, everyone says, what's your vision?
Exactly.
In interviews before you get to a church, what's your vision? And you can go back and look at, I don't mind showing my answers to that question. My answer in short was, I don't have a vision for here because I don't know you yet. So how can I force a framework on you that I've learned elsewhere and try to force that here? I say, here is what I believe is Christ's vision for his church. And as we walk together, there are some ways that I can inform us specifically of how to play out here. And so I'm one for alliteration. I love just using the similar letters because it helps us remember things easily. But I'll share this one as it relates to leadership. I said, before I can really lead you, here's a couple of things that have to take place. First, I got to love you. And if I say I love you, then I must be willing to learn you. If I'm going to learn you, I have to listen. If I love, listen, and learn, it'll teach me how to lean. And by lean, I mean serve. If I love you and I'm learning you and I'm listening, I know how to serve you. And if we're doing those things well, I built equity to lead you now. So that framework fit right into this vision now that we're sharing with 3 E's for Emmanuel, and that is embrace, explore, engage.
That's good.
Embrace is relational. We love God. We love each other. He loved us first. We love him back. We learn to love each other. Explore says, now that we love God, we love each other, let's learn. Learn of him through his word, learn of each other through discipleship, spend time together, hang out together, and then it goes to engage. So we love the Lord, learn his word. Now let me lean in and work for him. We love one another. We learn of one another. Now let's see how we work together to serve the community. And I think that model has really built a cycle for us to be encouraged, by spirit, come in for worship. We stick around before or after to learn, but then we challenge each other to get out into this community and serve. And this doesn't just speak to Emmanuel, but for many churches, they are no longer neighborhood-based churches.
Exactly.
Even to speak to the to briefly summarize the history of Emmanuel, coming from Mixontown,
Mm-hmm.
it was a community-based congregation.
It was.
Right there in Mixontown.
Right there.
Folks on the street. I would hear about districts being based in homes and
That's right.
being based, and people would come and be a part of the district because it was such a warm fellowship in the community, and that would bring people to church. Well, now you're in a generation where most of the people who attend any given church don't live in that surrounding neighborhood.
This is so true.
And that characterizes Emmanuel as well, because we moved from Mixontown now to Grand Park. And the majority of the members of Emmanuel do not have an address in 32209, which is also said to be the poorest zip code in the state of Florida.
Absolutely.
One of the poorest in the nation. But I am saying you don't have to have an address here to love people here.
That's right.
You don't have to have an address here to serve here. And so we're bringing that Embrace, Explore, Engage right back into this community. Whether or not you live here, we have work to do right here in Grand Park. From that school right up the street that people want to overlook, to the neighborhoods, the communities, the projects. This is God. This is where God has placed us as a congregation.
Right.
We're going to get work done here. It doesn't stop here. We have a whole city to reach, and it's exciting to look at what will be the soon future of Jacksonville from top to bottom. However, work starts at home first, and that's where this vision flows.
And I am so glad to hear that, Pastor. And it's good that you've actually, in the short time, learned that entire neighborhood, because the school that you're talking about up the street is actually Grand Park. And the city and the county uses that school to where they send young men and young women who they have disciplinary issues within the other schools within the neighborhood.
Right.
So yeah, that is a vein that we would probably want to touch into. And then there's Edward Waters College, Edward Waters University.
That's right.
Down the street. And then you have Susie Tarbert, but I believe that it is, I don't know if it's still open or closed, right down off of 13th Street. I see a lot of things happening within the neighborhood. We were talking earlier, and we can see the infrastructure being put in as the city itself continues to grow. You can see that there's a preparation to bring in, I would say, enrichment into the neighborhood itself. But the thing is, I don't believe that it's targeted toward the people who are already within the neighborhood itself. We see a lot of this going on within the city. So how would you prepare for this change that is coming down the road? And how would you try to prepare the neighborhood itself as a community leader for the change that we see coming down the road?
Absolutely. I think God prepares us for what we don't even see coming sometimes. Here's an example. My wife, she's in public schools, and one of her first jobs was in alternative schools.
Okay.
So if I look up the street and see Grand Park as an alternative school that most people would want to escape, that's where my wife started. So it's like we have been prepared for this well before we knew we were coming to Jacksonville.
I hear you, Doctor.
So I use that example. We can look at David, in Scripture. He's a shepherd. He's left behind, so to speak.
Right.
But he's out there wrestling lions and bears, so he knows how to deal with a giant.
There you go.
And so when I look at a giant of a situation in terms of the things that are moving in the city of Jacksonville, I think God has equipped us with so many examples, and they may not seem to be, I haven't redeveloped a community here or there, but there have been examples of things that we've learned from along the way. And so to put Emmanuel in a strategic position, not just Emmanuel, but Grand Park overall, I think it's a matter of informing and influencing people to be prepared for the future. Like you mentioned, we're strategically located, Kings Road on one side, MLK or US 1 to the other side.
Yes.
Besides the main interstate veins of 95 and 10 that are flowing through the city, these are main, thoroughfares that are going, towards downtown and out towards Georgia, or on down out of the west side of town. And I just think that as we know that development is coming.
Absolutely.
Down Kings Road.
Absolutely.
You can stand at Edward Waters University, look left and see the skyscrapers.
Absolutely.
It won't be long before that redevelopment and reinvestment comes. Now, the question that must be asked is, those who are doing the investment and redevelopment, do they have people that look like us in mind?
Absolutely.
Or do they have the supposed poor people of 32209 in mind? Or
Mhm.
is it that we're going to develop around them and at some point they'll move out
There you
and
go.
we'll move other people in?
Mhm.
My thought is no matter what your strategy is, we're going to be prepared as a community to
Good.
take part in this wave that we know is coming.
Yes.
So
Excuse me.
I've heard so often that, we're in a food desert. We're in a food desert. And
Absolutely.
we are. And so why not put a garden out at the back of the church? Why
Mhm.
not start preparing ourselves to, feed those that are around us?
Yes.
We literally are in a neighborhood where to get to the closest food is going to be your convenience stores.
Yes.
A few miles in either direction, you may be able to get to fast food.
Yes.
But in order to get to a grocery store,
Mhm.
you're talking, if a person doesn't have their own transportation,
Mhm.
that's several hours on a bus
Yes.
to or fro to get to a grocery store and to haul those things back. And so I'm saying strategically as a church family, can we begin to be the help that we've been praying for?
Absolutely.
Can we internally invest in some infrastructure so that we can be a solution to the problems that we anticipate? And that way we become indisposable. So bring what you want to bring to the
All
community.
right.
We are here and we won't be moved over.
Pastor, that is so good to see that you've actually keyed in on some of those things that are happening right there within the community. And I believe that you are the right man for the right time,
Oh, glory
because
to God.
you have individuals who have looked at the Grand Park and where Emmanuel is positioned and what their role would be. And those are some of the things that have not been pointed out. It is a food desert.
Yes, sir.
The closest one, Dixie or now Aldi's or Publix, is nowhere close to where the Black community needs to be served.
True.
So, Pastor, I would once again thank you for your time. I bless you for what you're doing. I
Bless
pray for you and in your endeavors in leading Emmanuel and being a leader within that community. And I pray that you will continue to be the man of God that He has placed you there.
Thank you so much.
And with that being said, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us for another issue of Faith. And in the meantime, make sure you go out and support your local NAACP. NAACP.com will give you as much information on what's going on with NAACP within the community. And October 29th of this year, you will have the NAACP 60th Annual Freedom Fund Awards Banquet and Luncheon. So please go to NAACPJax.com and you can gather all the information on that. Once again, thank you so much for joining us, Pastor Brown, and you all have a good day, a better week. Peace. Be blessed.